Today we're going to make blondies. This recipe makes 1/4 sheet pan. You will need 2 cups of brown sugar, 5½ ounces of unsalted butter at room temperature, 2 eggs at room temperature, 1½ tablespoons of vanilla extract, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, measured and then sifted, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup each of chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, and walnuts. I'm going to first prepare my chopped walnuts. I bought unsalted walnut halves that I'm going to chop up, and you can also buy these already pre-chopped. I'm just going to rough chop them so they are all even in size so that they can evenly distribute throughout the brownie. If you do not want to add nuts, you can actually add 1½ cups each of the white chocolate chips and the milk chocolate chips. If you want to add a different type of nut, you can actually substitute pecans or almonds or anything that you prefer. Next, I'm going to prepare my brown sugar. If you ever have a situation where your brown sugar is really hard because it was exposed to air, you can actually help it come back to life. You take a paper towel, dampen it with a little bit of water, and then you're going to put it right over the brown sugar and put it into the microwave for 30 seconds to a minute in 30-second increments. When it comes out, it should be nice and pliable, and you should be able to add it to your recipe. Now we're going to prepare our blondies. I'm going to add to my mixing bowl my brown sugar and my butter, and I'm going to cream it until it is light in color and all of the butter is well incorporated. Please make sure that your butter is at room temperature for this because it will make it much easier for it to blend together. I'm going to mix this on medium for about 4 minutes. You can increase the speed when everything is well combined. You're going to add your eggs one at a time until they are completely incorporated. Notice the difference in color from when we started. A lot of air has been added to this as well as the eggs. Now I'm going to sift my flour with my baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I take a strainer and I put it over my bowl and I start to fill it with the flour. Then I gradually add it to the bowl, nice and slow so that I do not make a mess. When you're done sifting, you're going to turn your mixer on nice and slow to incorporate the flour with the butter and the sugar. Then you're going to add your nuts and your 2 different types of chips. You're going to add them when the flour has been combined into the butter and the sugar about 3/4 of the way. And then mix until these are fully incorporated, making sure not to over mix. When all of the ingredients are fully combined, you can turn the machine off, unlock the motor lever, lift it up, take the paddle off, scrape it well to make sure that you do not leave any ingredients behind. Now that it's mixed, I'm going to put it into a 1/4 sheet pan. I'm going to spray the bottom of the 1/4 sheet pan with a little bit of pan spray, making sure that I get the sides so that it will release easy after it's done baking. Press down the parchment paper so it doesn't lift while I'm putting in the blondie mixture. Scoop all of the blondie mixture out into the tray. And then you're going to spread it out as evenly as you possibly can, making sure that you use an offset spatula to spread it out because that will give you a little bit more leverage when pressing down on the batter. Now I'm ready to go into my 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. Halfway through, I'm going to rotate it. If the top looks a little bit dark, I'm going to move it down to the bottom shelf during the last 10 minutes of cooking. When you take them out, you're going to let them cool before cutting. They should be firm to the touch. Now we're going to cut our blondies. When you cut them, you're going to first release them from the sides of the pan using a bench scraper or a knife. And you should be able to just pull them out from the quarter sheet pan. Make sure that you are taking the parchment paper off that is on the bottom of the blondie before you start to cut them. Now you can trim the sides if you want to, or you can just cut them into their individual pieces. So I'm going to start in the middle and I'm going to cut in half. Then I'm going to cut each half in half. And I'm going to be making triangular cuts today. So after I cut 4 columns, I'm going to clear up some room on my cutting board. And then I'm going to cut each individual into squares. So from each piece I will cut 3 squares, and then I will cut those diagonally into triangles. I'll place the ones that I just cut on a serving platter and to continue to cut my blondies. This time I'm going to trim the edges of this bar and then cut them into individual pieces. I'm not going to throw away any of those scraps because I'll show you what to do with them at the end. You can see all the chips and walnuts inside of the blondie. Continue cutting the rest of the blondie, making sure to trim any sides that you do not want to serve to your guests. And you can actually cut these in many different sizes. Here I cut each square into 3 and then cut each of those into half, and I can get small 6 bite-sized pieces. Those scraps at the end, what you're going to do is you're going to put them in a Ziploc bag. You can pop them in your freezer, and they're really delicious on top of ice cream when they are crumbled up. And they will keep well frozen in your freezer for about a month. Here is our final product, all plattered up, ready to serve our guests. I hope that you enjoyed this recipe, and let us know if you try it.